Hello, my name is Daniel Sanchez. I'm not really much of anybody, but a Bible student, and I would like to share one of my Bible studies with you. With the world needs this one. It's about animals and whether animals go to heaven or not. Now, I've not found a verse where it says specifically that yes, animals go to heaven. Those exact words, but I found a verse that said that animals are already in heaven. But we're going to start off with what preachers tell you and a little bit about why they tell you this. Okay, if you ask a regular preacher, do animals go to heaven? Most of the time, you're going to get a no for an answer. Um, this has been a year-long Bible study, year plus long Bible study for me because years ago I asked a preacher that same thing and preachers that same thing, and they told me that, well, animals don't have a soul, so they can't go to heaven. They've told me that animals don't have a spirit, so they can't go to heaven. They've told me that animals are not self-aware, so they cannot go to heaven, um, and all this stuff. But I'm going to disprove all that stuff uh, today, and I hope if you like this video, you'll share it with anybody you can. And this is especially for a new Christian. See, when the preachers told me that no, my animals weren't going to be in heaven, it made me bitter towards God, towards the Bible, because I didn't know my Bible very well then, and I just didn't want to be with a God that didn't love my animals too. And the more people I've talked to, the more I've found that yeah, a whole lot of people feel the same way. Okay, these lies hurt people's faith in God's love. They attack your faith in God's love. And I'm hopefully gonna put some salve on that wound and hope it heals up in a few days after you watch this and read it for yourself and pray about it. So here we go. First thing preachers would tell me is animals don't have a soul. So what I did about a year ago is I looked up the word soul in the Old Testament. Now, this is just the word soul, not souls, as in taking possession, or souls, as in many. Just the word soul. Okay. And all this information comes from the King James Bible. I don't use any other Bible but King James. So if you have a different Bible, you're liable to have lost information and whatnot. All right, first, first verse that caught my eye about the word soul in regard to animals was Job, Job chapter 12, verse 10. Now, the way I found this verse was went out and bought me this book. Okay, it's the Strong's Concordance. It has every word listed in the Bible from A to Z. It has common words in a different little section. Right here is the common words, and right here is your Hebrew and Greek meanings for the words, definitions. Because Old Testament's mainly Hebrew, New Testament's mainly Greek, so they use the Greek and Hebrew definitions. So let's go to 12:10 in the book of Job, and let's get started. All right, Job 10:12. No, 12:10. Sorry, Job 12:10 says, "In whose hand is the soul of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind." So this is the first verse that caught my attention about the word soul in regards to animals. See, this verse separates man and animal, or every living creature in the breath of all mankind. Now, when I showed this to the couple pastors I was under here at first here in Pueblo, Colorado, he gave me probably a textbook answer, or just what or an answer that preachers just think is right. He told me that the word soul in this particular verse did not mean what it says. He says it means something different. It means creatures, I think is what he said. Um, which animals are creatures? I'm a creature. The only thing that's not a creature is God. He's a creator. So I looked up this verse in concordance here and found that the word soul in the Old Testament is used 419 times. Now, there's only 3 verses that the word soul is used differently. And for those 3 verses, the concordance did not give a definition on what those verses mean about the word soul. So those 3 verses with no definition for the word soul are 2 Samuel 13:39. All right, number 2, Job 30:15. Number 3, Job 16:2. So I wrote this information down and took it to my preacher and to the associate pastor here and asked him to read it. This was months ago, and they said they read it. They said they get back to me. So I was like, cool. I need help with this book anyway. So this is how much I've got on animals and just nature in general. Those are all my notes from the King James Bible. Now, now when I handed this to him, he said, yeah, he'd read it. He'd love to read it. He'd get back with me. Associate pastor said the same thing. So we went there for a couple months after that, just to give him time to read it and get back with me. But he never did. So we stopped going. Um, and then I got convicted, and a few months later we went back. Of course, COVID had a little bit to do with that too, why we didn't go. But I went back just to test him out because he had our address, he had our phone number, he'd been to our house, um, and I just went to see if he would bring it up and mention it to me. But when I got there, you could tell that he really wished he wasn't looking at me at the time. He he just said, "Oh, hi," and sped on by me. Um, See, these preachers, they would rather be right than truthful. They would rather not tell the congregation, "Oh, I was wrong about something," and let me correct that. No, these preachers didn't do that. They were King James only. Call themselves Bible believing preachers, and they didn't show me nothing. So the word soul in the Old Testament does mean breathing creature. It means creature. Um, uh, it means animal. It means fish. If you look up the word soul in Hebrew, it also means fish. There's a bunch of definitions, but a few times you can get the word animal out of the word soul. So that's the first occurrence of the word soul being linked to an animal is Job 12:10. Second verse that the word soul is mentioned in regard to animals is Leviticus 22:11. It says, "But if a priest buy any soul with his money, he shall eat of it, and he that is born in his house, they shall eat of his meat." Okay, not only do creatures, animals, have a soul, In this verse, they're directly called a soul. Leviticus 22:11. Um, if it's not referring to an animal in this verse, then it can only be that this verse was talking about cannibalism, and that here in Leviticus, it's not talking about cannibalism because God's priests, God's Old Testament priests, were not linked to cannibalism. Few people were; they would eat their own children. They sacrificed it to Balak or whatever those evil gods' names were. Um, so either you got a cannibalistic priest that God didn't kill, or this word here, soul, means animal. Okay, that's the second time. And on a side note here, in Psalms 34:2, the word soul is called a her. David said something about my soul shall rejoice in her. Something. Let me just go find it here real quick. So Psalms 34, Psalms 34, verse 2 says, "My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. My soul shall make her boast." Uh, so that's got something to do with how men, such as myself and anyone else considered saved, that's how we're part of the bride of Christ, is because the real us, or the real you, male or female, um, your soul is called a her. Because Jesus wouldn't marry a man. Yeah, I don't even know if he talks or anything like that in the Bible. Anyway, that's the second occurrence of the word soul being linked to the animal is Leviticus 22:11. And last occurrence, the last one I could find, anyway, with the word um, soul being attached to an animal was okay. Well, let's go to Genesis 7:15. Genesis 7, verse 15. You know? Now, if you remember, go back and read first two or three chapters of the book of Genesis. Maybe the first one or two chapters. Anyway, you'll find that God breathed the breath of life into Adam, and man became a living soul. Okay, mankind or men are called souls several times in the Bible. It says if a soul touched this or does that, it should surely die. It calls the person soul, and we already saw where animals are called a soul. So let's go to Genesis 7:15, and let's go to Genesis 7:13. In the selfsame day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the three wives of his sons with them into the ark. Okay, Noah and family boarded the vessel, boarded the ark. They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, bugs and such, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. And they went in unto Noah into the ark, two and two of all flesh. Now watch this, wherein is the breath of life. And I believe that says that a couple times in the story of Noah. But here we have um, animals being said to have the breath of life. You remember, God breathed the breath of life into Adam, and man became a living soul. So here, with animals having the breath of life, you could say the animals became a living soul. Um, and if you notice in this verse, the animals went in unto Noah. Okay, Noah didn't go around the whole planet capturing these animals, hauling them back one by one or two by two to the ark, and caging them or whatever until it was time to put them on the ark. The animals came to Noah. They boarded the ark on their own. God told them to travel. Then he told them to board the ark. It must have taken several generations because it took Noah 100 years to build the boat. Noah and family. So it took 800 man years to build the boat. Um, so there we have animals having the breath of life. And when you see this word all flesh, because you run into this phrase a lot. Uh, 1 Corinthians 15:39 says, "All flesh is not the same flesh, that there is one kind of flesh of man, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds." There's four kinds of flesh, but they all have the breath of life. Yes, even the fish. Um, that's what I got on animals having a soul. Do they have a soul? I know there's already animals in heaven. We'll hit this verse a little early and maybe even come back to it. Revelation 5:13. Revelation 5:13. Way in the back of your book. And every creature which is in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, worms and moles, I guess, and such as are in the sea, and all that are in them, heard I saying, blessing and honor and glory and power be unto him that sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb forever and ever. This is why Eve was not scared to talk to that dirty old serpent back in Genesis. Animals could talk. They still talk. They talk to God. God talks to them. Um, is a is a is a example of that. Okay, and I believe John 3:16 also applies to the animals because of a couple verses. There's one here, and we'll hit one a little bit later. Anyway, Psalms 104 verse 21. Psalms 104 verse 21. I got it written down so I give you time to find it. Um, so I think the whole chapter of Psalms 104 is about mainly animals, and it's just a real neat chapter. It's cute. And Psalms 104:21. Young lions roar after their prey and seek their meat from God. Okay, the young lions roar after their prey. APREY, and seek their meat from God. So they're asking God for food with their roar. Okay, it's a prayer to God. Um, oh yeah, there's the other verse I found on this right below this. Yeah, it's a prayer to God. Every time you're watching Discovery Channel, or whatever, and you see a young lion roar, and he's hunting, it's a prayer to God for meat. You know, I guess tough luck on the animal getting eaten. But anyway, here we go. Now Job 38:41. Job 38:41. Job has a lot of neat information in it. It's the one of the first books to happen while Genesis was happening, Job was happening. Just look that up. It'll throw a little light on um, what a good relationship that Job had with God. So Job 38:41, and Job didn't have the scripture. Job quoted the scripture though, so God must have talked to him just like he did Adam. All right, Job 38:41. Who provideth for the raven his food? Raven, blackbird, type of the devil. Okay. Who provideth for the raven his food when his young ones cry unto God? They wonder for lack of meat. You know, they walk around, don't have a particular place that they're going, except to find a little meat. But they cry unto God for their meat. So we got the young lions praying to God. We got the ravens praying to God. Um, and it's a neat little thing just to look up the word creature in your New Testament. Look it up, read every occurrence, and you'll learn something. Now let's go to Mark 16:15. This is one of my favorite verses that preachers, I've heard preachers mess this one up 1,000 times. Mark 16:15. Okay, and he said unto them, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. That's usually where preachers stop the sentence right there. It's right after the word gospel. They put a period and they get out their big old broom and they just sweep the last three words off the page. All right, let me reread it the right way. And he said unto them, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. To every creature. Devil's creature, preach to him too. Yeah, you always got an audience with the devil. Um, anyway, says to every creature, not just to every man. Man's a creature, of course, but it says to every creature. And if it's not the creator, it's a creature. Okay. Then my next note here was Revelation 5:13, which we just read about all the animals that are in heaven and in the earth, praising God and saying He has power and all that. Okay, let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. And I'm going to show you the verse that the reason why preachers say that animals don't go to heaven is because of this one verse. This one verse that they take out of context, and then they don't read the rest of the book. They don't read chapter 12, or else they know that they've been taught wrong or they learned wrong. Um, Here we go. Ecclesiastes, I'm going to read a few verses here, 15 through 21. Um, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15 to verse 21. Um, that with that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God requireth that which is past. Okay. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. Okay, even the judges are being bad. Let people go that they shouldn't, such as Barabbas and all this. Um, anyway, verse 17. I said in mine heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked. Okay, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. I said in mine heart, and Ecclesiastes was written by Solomon, the wisest man that's ever lived, according to the Bible. I said in mine heart concerning the states of men, or the states of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, God might show them, that God might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. We're beasts. We're called beasts. We're called sheep. We're called fish. We're called sometimes dogs. We're called swine. Um, God calls us all kind of. He calls us baby chickens, chicks. Anyway, he calls us all kind of animals. They might see themselves as beasts. For that which befalleth, verse 19, for that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts. Every one thing befalleth them. As the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath. Man and animals, creatures have all one breath, the breath of life, okay? So that a man hath no preeminence above a beast for all his vanity. Um, a man has no preeminence above a beast. Preeminence is like you're higher, of a higher status uh, in life or in your work or whatever. But it's a higher status. We are not above a beast, is what it's saying. We are beasts. We all have one breath. We share the breath of it. A bear breathes out a breath, we breathe it in as it goes around the earth. All go unto one place. All are of the dust. All animals are of the dust too. Adam was of the dust. Adam was given the breath of life. Animals are of the dust. Animals were given the breath of life. And all turn to dust again. Now, this is where uh, almost every preacher I've ever met or ever asked has stumbled and fallen flat on their face. Okay? Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward? Now, this spirit, the spirit of man, is separate from the spirit of the devil, the spirit of God, or the spirit of animals. Okay? There's four spirits: man, God, devil, animals. Um, who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth? And it's a question mark. It's not a sentence. Every time a preacher reads it to you, they treat it like it's a sentence, not a question. It's a question. And what you got to show them, what you have to finally end up having to show them, is okay, is the last chapter in Ecclesiastes. See, we were reading Ecclesiastes 10:21. Now you got to go to Ecclesiastes 12, verse 7. Okay, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Now, okay, if these beasts, spirits, go downward to the earth, eventually, or maybe right after that, who knows, the spirit returns unto God who gave it. Okay, because it sure wasn't the devil that gave animals a spirit. Um, and they've never been told not to do anything. The ravens are even documented as having fed, was it Elijah, that laid by the river. The ravens brought him bread. I think they brought him something else too, but I forget what that is. Anyway, point being, um, the raven, even though he didn't come back um, to Noah on the ark, the raven, the young ones, they pray to God. They take orders from God. They were told to feed a man. They did. Um, so anyway, and so the dove, that would put the dove as not having been told by God to bring the olive leaf back, not a branch, a leaf. Dove's not strong enough to pick a branch, and it says leaf. Um, so the raven wasn't told to bring back proof of life. Um, and the dove wasn't told to bring back proof of life. She just did it on her own. Animals are intelligent. We're going to see that here in a minute. Okay. Yeah, that page's done. So, and here's all the verses on what I was just saying. I don't know if you can read that. Anyway, maybe you'll be able to pause it later and get a hold of that. So, yeah, young lions pray. The gospel is preached to every creature. So if the animals pray to God, they know God, they ask God for their food. Um, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish. Animals don't perish and go to the earth. Okay, they should not. Anyone who believes in God should not perish, but have everlasting life. Perish is used two ways in the Bible. Once it means physical death, and for two, it means to go to hell and the lake of fire after that. Yeah. Now, another thing preachers will tell you is it's not God's purpose to get animals into heaven, and that you won't remember them once you get to heaven anyway, because heaven's going to be so grand and all this hogwash. Not that heaven's not grand, but we will remember our animals. Um, yeah. Let's find Colossians. Okay, now let's go to Colossians. Colossians 1:23, and we're going to see an example of of a person that preached to the animals. Colossians. Oh, I just turned it to okay. Colossians 1:23. Here we go. Um, Colossians 1:23. If you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, says Christ is the great hope. Okay. Looking forward to that blessed hope and glorious return of our Lord Jesus Christ. Jesus is called hope. Okay. Which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven. Wherefore I, Paul, am made a minister. Paul was made a minister to every creature under heaven because he preached to them. It's a great way to, if you want to become a preacher or just a minister or something like that, it's a great way to start talking to an audience. You might feel silly at first. I did. But you go out and preach to the animals. You preach to the squirrels, birds. Go to the ant and preach to him. That's a captive audience. There's hundreds and maybe thousands of ants in there. But if they can talk to God, surely they know what we're saying, especially when it comes to the gospel, because they have God in them. They have the book in them too. So Paul said to preach to him, and Paul said he preaches to him himself in Colossians. All right. And and why would a preacher think that if you're supposed to preach to the animals, why would he think that God wouldn't let him into heaven? It's a contradiction, is what that is. Um, so where did the white horse come from? White horse is because Enoch was taken up in a flaming chariot, horse-drawn chariot. So where did them horses come from that come down and scoop Enoch up? Did God make the horses on the way down, and right after he was through them, he made him perish and become nothing? No, well, because Christ is going to come back on a white horse later. Where them horses come from? They don't come from limbo. Limbo don't exist. They come from heaven. They're already there. And God likes having creatures around his throne. Actually, cherub carry around his throne. Uh, if you read Ezekiel 1 and Ezekiel 10, chapters 1 and 10, you'll find that these are hybrid creatures mixed with man and animal. Three types of animal. No, there's more than that. Anyway, a bunch of types of animal and man put together to form a creature. And there's four of these things that carry around the throne. The devil having had been one of these things, one of these cherub in the beginning. But iniquity was found in him according to Ezekiel 28, and he was thrown down. He fell because he was thrown. Um, and you can learn most of that about the cherubs in Ezekiel chapter 1, Ezekiel chapter 10. Now, let's go to my favorite story in the Bible. Um, I just like the way God wrote it, and it shows that animals are self-aware. They know what they're doing. They know who they belong to. They can count. They know their duties. Um, what else? What else? They protect man. Uh, they can hinder God's plans, or even in this case, stop God's plan because the animal's choices. And let's go to Numbers. Look at Numbers chapter 22. Numbers 22. Yeah, bring this up to a preacher that says animals aren't smart enough to get in heaven. Um, he'd probably won't even want to look at you after that. 'Cause they'd rather be right than truthful. All right, and this is about the worst language or English that it gets, but this is how it's written. Um, so here we go. Numbers 22, verse 21 through, I'm going to say, verse 34. Okay, verse 21, Numbers chapter 22. And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab. All right, he got up and he put a saddle on his donkey and he went out. And God's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him. Okay, there was witnesses to this thing, this event. Um, okay, verse 23. And the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and the ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way, to make her go back the way she was going. Um, but the angel of the Lord stood in a path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself into the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. And he smote her again. He hit her again. Um, and the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place, and there was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. Okay, he she donkey. She served his life 3 times, and she got scolded for it 3 times. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? Okay, that's verse 28. What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? So, in this verse, the preacher is going to tell you that, well, God told the donkey what to say, and that's what she said, because uh, something stupid about the free will of somebody else. Okay, um, but that's not what it's talking about. See, God just opened the mouth says. There are occasions in the Bible that God opened someone's mouth to speak for him, and even told the person what to say. But this is not one of those occurrences. This is God simply opening the donkey's mouth, and the donkey said what she wanted to. Um, the donkey wasn't coerced into saying anything. What have I done unto thee that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, and it's strange that he just started up a conversation with this donkey instead of wondering why the donkey could now talk. You know, maybe he's seen animals talk before. I don't know, but it sure didn't phase him. Because thou hast mocked me, I would that there were a sword in mine hand, for now I would kill thee, for now would I kill thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. so, so we got the donkey um, asking Balaam, did she ever try to, hurt him, try to kill him? And she knew what she was. Look, and 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 the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine ass? Okay, she knew what she was. She knew her job. She could count. She knew who her owner was. She must have loved him because she stopped him from getting killed, even though he struck her for it. Um, so God just opened her mouth, and she was able to defend herself. with her own words. Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. It's funny because that's what a horse would say. And the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. You see that a bunch of times in the Bible where God or the angel of God stands in front of somebody and where they hit the dirt. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me, and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned away from me, or unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain thee, and saved her alive. And Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, I have sinned. For I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it pleaseth thee, I will get me back again. Said, I didn't know all that stuff, so I'm just gonna go back home if that's all right with you. Is what Balaam basically said, and it's funny that the angel chose to ask him the same first question that the donkey chose to ask him. Why did you smite me these 3 times? The angel said, why did you hit her these 3 times? Um, so, so he went back home, and that's about the end of this little story here. It's Numbers 22. And every preacher that I've talked to about animals going to heaven, they must have missed this chapter, or they just sped read it, speed readers, so they could say that they read through their Bible this year or something, to put them up on a pedestal. But you can use this chapter to yank that pedestal out from underneath them, um, and show them that, well, this donkey, at least this donkey knew what she was. Um, I don't say she had a name, but she knew what she was. She knew her duties. She belonged to. She knew who she belonged to, and she knew that God was going to kill her master. And she turned away from the angel because she saw the threat, and she hindered it, even stopped God's plan, or at least the angel's plan. Stopped the plan of killing silly old Balaam. So so there you go. That's animals have a soul, a spirit. They're self-aware. They're smart. They can count. Um, they they can recognize danger and turn you away from it. How many times has a dog woken up their master, or a cat even woken up their master, and the house has been on fire. The house is on fire, and the reason they was able to get out is because the animal. They're not stupid. They're just like us. They're not stupid. They're just like us. That's kind of funny. So we have that. Animals are self-aware. Numbers 22, and they're smart. They're smart enough to get into heaven. They're smart enough to turn themselves away, and they're smart enough not to talk to us. Because I think we'd get them in a lot of trouble if they talk to us. Maybe they can't. Maybe God has to open them up. Anyway, um, yeah, several times throughout the Bible, God claims the firstborn of every man and beast. He claims the earth. He claims the cattle on 1,000 hills. He claims everything. Everything's his. He made everything. Um, Even I'm his. I'm property. Um, God has a deed to me, written in blood. I like to say. Um, when I die, it's just him. It's just him collecting his property. That's the way we should look at that. Um, 'Cause a lot of people have a real hard time with losing family members. You just gotta remember, God just came back to claim His property. He didn't try to hurt your feelings. Uh, One day He'll collect you too. Um, there's something. Um, you read 2 Corinthians 5:18, Ephesians 2:16, and especially Colossians 1:20. And let me go to Colossians 1:20. That's that's a good one. Prove a little point here. Colossians Colossians 1:20. And having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. All things. If you read the Old Testament, you would see that the trees of Eden went to hell. Okay, but God sent Jesus to die, to reconcile. That means to get back your friendly relationship with a person. Um, God came to reconcile all things unto Himself, and by Him I say, whether they be things in the earth or things in heaven. And outer space, the Bible calls outer space heaven. It calls our atmosphere heaven, and it calls heaven heaven. So, yeah, sometimes you just got to discern which place is He talking about, because God calls outer space the sea too, the deep. That's why Christopher Columbus didn't find the dragon here on Earth. That great dragon Leviathan's in outer space. He's measuring things. Look up, measure the foundation of heaven and measure the foundation of earth in the Old Testament. That should be close enough wording to get you to the verse. And you see why that great dragon's up in heaven. He's trying to measure the thing to get the Jews cast into hell. Okay, all of them. God played a little practical joke on him, keep him busy for our safety. Yes, should be Ezekiel 31:16. Um, we're almost done here. I don't know how much time we spent. Probably close to 45 minutes, and I can't get this introduction to my book in less than 40 minutes. So imagine it's been 45 minutes. Ezekiel 31:16. 31:16. Yeah. I made the nations to shake at the sound of his fall when I cast him down to hell with them that descend into the pit, and all the trees of Eden, the choice and best of Lebanon, all that drink water shall be comforted in the nether parts of the earth. Um, Says they went to hell. Says the ones that drank water, they went to hell. That's what the rich man asked for in the New Testament. One drop of water, cool his tongue. That tells you there's water in Old Testament heaven. There's a river in New Testament heaven. It comes out from under God's throne. I forget the verse that's in the, you can find it if you do that. So, yeah, that's about it. Let me see. Yeah, and I don't recommend taking this information to your pastor and saying, well, look at this and look at this and look at this. Because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to change. Probably greater than that. They're not going to change. They'll just call you a troublemaker, say you're trying to divide the church, and give you a bad reputation with people. Don't go arguing with foolish people. If they want to throw out, what's this, 30 verses, well, a lot more than that, actually. I got a book full of verses they throw out. But they want to do that, just let them. Um, if you can't stand that he lied to you about your pets, try to go somewhere else. And don't even bring it up. Don't even bring up your pets to the pastor. Okay, just start anew. Uh, this video is really for new Christians. It's for seasoned Christians too, but seasoned Christians are going to have a little harder time believing this because they've been taught that animals don't go to heaven, and it's a lie. Lie that poisons your faith. Actually, lies are called poison. In Ezekiel or something. Look up the word poison in the Old Testament. You'll find it. It's like in 2 or 3 verses, all in a row. Yeah, that's basically it. Thanks for watching. I pray this video gets out to as many ears as God wants it to get out to by passing it around. And let's pray for those that will still reject this if you show it to them. And I pray for the world all the time. I pray for you all the time. God bless y'all. Good night. And yes.